Welcome to the web series, The Hero's Call, where champions of safety and justice in the community are profiled. The series is co-hosted by attorney Mark Diller and his colleague, Dr. John Naranja. Dr. John is both an attorney and a doctor.
The reasons that individuals and families immigrate to the United States are many. Whether it's to chase the American dream or avoid persecution, the United States represents a land of opportunity. Today on A Hero's Call, we feature an immigration attorney, Mahsa Khanbabai, who works with individuals with medical conditions that are otherwise untreatable in their homeland. Welcome, Mahsa. Mahsa, welcome to Hero's Call.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Mahsa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a private immigration attorney, been doing this for over 20 years now, and I am an immigrant myself. My parents and I came to the United States when I was a young child from Iran. And unfortunately, the war broke out with Iraq and the Iranian Revolution happened, and it was really dangerous to return to Iran. And so my parents realized that they had to stay here in the United States. And my father found a job in a small community hospital in Western Massachusetts. And we moved there and been there pretty much ever since.
And then tell us how did your interest in immigration then develop from there?
Yeah, so we went through the whole immigration process ourselves. And I remember our lawyer and another lawyer at the immigration office just seeming so confident, so helpful, and really making a difference in their clients' lives, obviously in our lives. And I thought, wow, like I would love to be able to help people like this one day, especially people that are really, afraid and worried and vulnerable and might not know what resources they have available to them.
Now let's talk a little bit more about the healthcare reasons for helping immigrants. How do you find out about those particular individuals?
So a number of different ways. I do serve on a panel of volunteer attorneys, pro bono attorneys for Children's Hospital, Boston Children's Hospital. So anytime they have a case where someone needs an attorney and can't afford one, they'll send a request out. Also just from friends and family, people know that I have a particular interest in the healthcare related aspects of immigration.
Mahsa, I understand that a couple of years ago, you got involved in a case with a young girl, approximately 14 years old, who had a very serious heart condition and needed top flight medical care here at Boston Children's Hospital. And then it's my understanding that during the Trump presidency that there were new immigration protocols that threatened to kick this young woman out of the country and deprive her of the necessary life-saving medical care that she needed here at Boston Children. Is that a case that you took on?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most amazing cases that I've had in the last few years. For so many reasons, but particularly because under the Trump administration, immigration and immigrants were vilified, demonized, and the most vulnerable amongst us are those with healthcare conditions, and to then try to deport these very innocent individuals because they're here for healthcare issues and are trying to extend their status, but you don't want to let them extend their status was really tragic. And so yeah, that was definitely a case that I loved working on, and I'm actually still working on that case now.
Please share with us, how did you get involved in that case?
So that one was actually a referral from a friend who is also on a pro bono panel at Boston Children's, where he met this family. He knew that they had these immigration issues, that they had applied to extend their stay and had gotten denied. And now they were worried about, well, how are we going to stay here? My daughter just had open heart surgery and can't leave. And so they reached out to me and we helped apply for what's called deferred action. A lot of people know about it as medical deferred action, but it can be for other purposes besides medical needs. And we applied and then oddly got a letter saying, no, we're going to deny your case and you have 33 days to leave the country. And several of us lawyers got these letters and we thought, this is really strange. Why are there a rash of denials? And it turned out that the Trump administration secretly terminated this program There was no public notice, nothing. Thousands of people rely on this program every year. And so we thought, this is really scary. This is really strange. Why would the Trump administration terminate this small but vital immigration program without any public notice? So we started talking amongst ourselves to figure out what to do, and reached out to Senator Markey's office and Rep. Presley's office, and some other immigrant advocacy groups in the Massachusetts area, and said, hey, we have a big problem here. We need to do something about this. And we ended up calling a press conference to highlight the inhumane, policy change. And from there, it really just exploded on the press and in the public.
What would have happened if the 33 days had passed and that young woman would have been deported?
I mean, one, traveling on a plane internationally would have been very dangerous for someone like her. She still had, open wounds and things like that. It was not feasible from a medical standpoint for her and for many others who were actually sick in the hospital as they got these 33-day deportation letters. So one, it wasn't even physically possible for her to leave. Two, the amount of stress that this caused on her, a 14-year-old girl going to school and her mom, was tremendous. It was really devastating to see what they went through and still go through, and not knowing, are their applications for renewals going to be accepted and approved, and how is this going to impact her ability to go to school? She's an incredibly bright young woman. And I mean, I couldn't imagine going to high school, having open heart surgery, and worried about being deported from, the country that can give me the medical attention I need.
What country is she from?
She's from Spain.
And did she try to seek out the medical care in Spain? How did she end up coming here to the United States?
Yeah, she was born with this congenital heart condition, and the Spanish medical system was able to take care of her needs to a certain extent. It didn't seem to, though, have the capacity to really truly help her, and there were some complications in Spain, and so she was able to get the typical visa that most Spaniards get and come to the United States for 90 days. That was their plan, and then to return home after the open heart surgery. But unfortunately, there were complications. It's a very rare and complicated heart condition that she has. And so she ended up needing to stay here longer and couldn't leave after that 90-day period that she had been granted.
Please share with us what it is that you as her lawyer did to help her remain here in this country and receive the necessary life-saving health care that she has been getting since.
So the process of applying for deferred action has multiple parts to it. Obviously, there's a part of documenting her medical condition, getting letters from the physicians, from the hospitals regarding what the condition is, what is the treatment involved, what's the prognosis, an estimate of the amount of time she needs to stay here in the United States to be treated, the fact that they can't get that same medical attention and care in Spain, and that her life could be at risk. So there's the basic lawyering part of it in terms of paperwork. But then obviously with the Trump administration, and they tried to deny the case, and they actually just terminated the whole program, it involved a little bit more creative lawyering and explaining to the public what was happening, how it was incredibly unfair and pretty much unlawful to terminate a program for people that really needed such important medical care, and then kind of just spreading the word, right? And going to DC, where we were able to get a congressional oversight hearing to investigate what happened. Why was this program terminated without any notice? Why is it so critical? How many people does it impact every year? And, I had the amazing fortune then of being able to talk to a lot of press about this, and just really spread the word so that people could see that this was devastating, and to then reach out to elected officials to say, we won't stand for this. There's something needs to be done.
What was the end result of all of that?
The results were amazing, that the Trump administration actually backtracked and decided not to terminate the Deferred Action Program. And despite all of the other public outcry for the many, many abusive things that the Trump administration did in terms of immigration, from separating children and putting them in cages, this was the only program that the government backtracked and decided to continue to allow, and now has started to renew applications.
And as a result of the government backtracking on that policy, is that young girl still able to get the necessary life-saving medical care here at Boston Children's?
Yeah, she is. She's doing pretty well, and she continues to get her follow-up assessments and treatment as necessary, and she's doing really well in high school.
Can you give us a little bit more detail about the creative lawyering part of it?
Creative lawyering is partly taking important cases to the press, to the media, to the public, so that they can understand these are our neighbors, these are our colleagues, these are our coworkers and family members who are all just working hard, trying to do the best for their families and for their community. And I think when people understand that, especially in areas where people might not have really understood what immigration means and how difficult of a process it is, and the vetting that is involved, and the extreme economic benefits that immigrants bring to our economy, then we can hope that Congress will effect legislative change. And when it comes from a policy side of things, that the immigration officials will see, by making terrible decisions like ending certain programs, you are not only affecting a particular family, but then you're affecting that hospital. You're affecting that community and those other doctors and other people that work at that hospital. They want to see that our government understands that immigration is important, that these are human beings that we need to treat fairly and humanely.
How did you collaborate with the physicians and the healthcare providers during this process?
They're so supportive, and they really get it, right? Again, we need to give medical care to whoever needs it. And it shouldn't matter what country they're from, what their immigration status is, what their religion or color is. And so they were just fabulous.
As someone who was trying to affect change, I'm sure you received some resistance during this process. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I got my share of hate email and terrible Twitter comments and things like that, saying, oh, let these people die, let them go back to their home country, they don't deserve to be here, why are you doing this? So yeah, that was there. But I also got an incredible outpouring of support, that people actually calling and leaving voicemails saying, if you need protection, I will be there for you. It was really amazing to see the outpouring of support from really good Americans saying, good for you, keep doing this. It's really important to help as many people as you can.
Mahsa, this is your profession. Were you paid for the work you did in this case?
No, I wasn't. It was a pro bono case.
And why did you do that?
Luckily, I could afford to do it, but it had to be done. I mean, this family really needed help, and so many other families needed help. And if I'm fortunate enough to have the resources and the education and the understanding, having gone through the immigration process myself of what is involved, then I'm going to do whatever it takes. But yeah, I spent a lot of time away from my kids, traveled to DC, paid for my own hotel and flights, late nights at the office and interviews with the press. It was definitely very taxing on my practice and my family, but definitely well worth it.
At the time, you were challenging our United States government. And in many respects, by taking this public, you could have been looked at as like a troublemaker, right? At any point in time, did that concern you?
I mean, it's always there in the back of your mind because you have a reputation to uphold. You have clients that you're representing and in the future will represent, and you don't ever want your perception by an immigration office to taint that. You want each of your clients to get a fair shake. And so, I thought about that, but realized that at least, the good professional immigration officers at the different offices that I go to are going to know I'm doing my job. I'm advocating for my clients, those who really don't have a voice and need someone to speak up for them. And so I didn't really worry about it too much.
Mahsa, can you tell us about what was the reaction of the 14-year-old girl when you told her that she was going to be able to stay longer than the 33 days?
They were, I mean, ecstatic, relieved. I think one incredible less pressure on her as a young person already to not have to worry about that.
That photograph there, Mahsa, what are we looking at?
So that's my client down in Washington, D.C. At a press conference just before the congressional oversight hearing on the end of the Deferred Action Program. So she came and she spoke along with a couple of the other individuals who'd been affected, who were willing to speak out publicly because, again, many of them were afraid to speak out in public. But yeah, she was there speaking to other congressional offices, the press, talking about why she was here, why she was applying for deferred action, and why she thought her case should be approved and why the program shouldn't be terminated.
Mahsa, what are we looking at here?
This is my client and her mom. We got invited to several MSNBC shows to talk about what was happening. This was at the height of really the hysteria of this program being terminated without notice, and us trying, working with our clients to see who was willing to come forward to speak to the press about their case. Because, I mean, obviously this is a really sensitive issue. Your health is not something you want to share. Your health problems is not something you want to share with the world, let alone your immigration problems and being deported, especially at the time of the Trump administration where, I mean, immigrants were demonized everywhere. So luckily, again, my client was incredibly brave and courageous, and she and her mom came and spoke on national television without, live, without any prep or anything like that. And I'm really proud of her.
Why do you think your client was so outspoken in the press and going to the congressional hearing and stepping up to talk out against the policies in place?
I mean, I think she realized that she had that capacity. She had, the knowledge and the thankfully the English language skills to stand up and say something where so many other people were probably just feeling so much more vulnerable and scared.
Mahsa, as an agent of change in immigration law and in caring for individuals who have healthcare conditions that they wouldn't be able to access that care locally, we really appreciate the time that you've spent with us and are impressed by the work that you've done. We hope that going forward you continue to have success, and we understand that you've sacrificed a lot as an attorney, and we appreciate again your time.
Thank you so much for having me on the show and letting me share my information and my clients' stories.
Thank you so much, Mahsa. You're a real inspiration.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.